Welcome to Paris for round 3 of this year's ITU Triathlon World Cup. It's a scorching day here in the heart of Europe, the temperatures soaring into the 90s and the sun blazing down on this unique course based around the River Seine and the Eiffel Tower. We'll have a look at the race format in a moment, but first, here's what's happened on the World Cup circuits so far. Rounds 1 and 2 of the 1996 World Cup took place in Japan and proved to be a victory parade for the Australians in general and Emma Carney in particular. Carney, the defending World Cup champion, ran away with the first 2 races. The young Australian showing that she's bounced back from the disappointment of losing out at last year's World Championships in Cancun, Mexico. In the men's event, another Aussie, Miles Stewart, cruised home in round 1. But it was the talented young Brazilian Alexandra Manzan who took the most exciting race of the series so far, beating Leandro Macedo on the line to win round 2 in Gamagori. Today's race is a sprint triathlon, starting in the River Seine with a 750-metre swim. The bike stage is just 20 kilometres long, 4 laps. The race finishes in front of the Eiffel Tower with a 5-kilometre run. Manzan and the German Ralph Egert are missing from this week's lineup, but it's another strong field with Leandro Macedo, the pre-race favourite. Frenchman Philippe Fattori, 5th in last year's World Championships, is here to lead the European Challenge. In the women's race, look no further than Emma Carney. She's the best all-round athlete the sport has ever seen. Canadian Carol Montgomery could threaten if she's in contention after the bike stage. And New Zealander Jenny Rose is getting better and better as the season progresses. Despite the midsummer heat, it's a wetsuit swim in the Seine. The women race first. Expect the winning time to be around the 1-hour mark. The men should finish in around 55 minutes. It's a picture postcard day here in the heart of Paris as the Eiffel Tower stares down, with the women's start of this triathlon just a few moments away. Alongside myself, Nick Fellows, in the commentary box, former world number 3, Catherine Davis. Catherine, first of all, it's a sprint race today. How does that affect the game plan for the athletes?
Well, Nick, for the standard distance, they're finishing in around the 2-hour mark, but here it's exactly half that. It's 1 hour. So the sprint is actually a very apt title for this race. It's full out. It's 1 hour of full out, heart-pounding racing.
Well, there is a beautiful shot of the 750-metre swim upriver on the Seine, but once again we witness a different start.
Well, this time you can see that they're actually moving before they get to the flags, so they will be swimming before the gun goes off.
And there is the gun as round 3 of the International Triathlon Union World Cup Tour gets underway. It's a sprint distance format, half of the 3 disciplines that we've grown used to in this series so far. So, Catherine, an early start and a fast start really quite essential.
Well, you can see that they're all across in a line there, but they will be trying to look for the current. There is a current that's going faster down the middle of the river, and they all know that. So they are going to be looking for the person to head out first, and they're going to follow the one who's got the best line down the middle of the river. And
the early leader is the South African Dominic Donner, really pushing hard, looking to get perhaps into clear water, but certainly no bumping or bashing here, and this could be a good tactic for the South African.
Well, she is a very strong swimmer. In fact, she would have been in the Olympic Games if it hadn't been for the boycott against South Africa.
It is a great start for the South Africans, with Kim Carter, her teammate, in runner-up position. Neither of these 2 leading swimmers have been in action on the ITU World Cup Tour as yet, but they're going for it and starting to split the field nice and early on in this event. Let's take a look at the ITU World Cup Tour standings so far. Emma Carney still has the lead. She's won the first 2 events. Montgomery, Rena Hill is behind her, Isabel Mouton and Callahan Hatfield in 5th spot. The standards are getting higher and higher.
With the swims now, they're so competitive, and I've got a little bit of a smaller build. I weigh like 112 pounds, and a lot of the girls are swimmers coming into the sport, and they're a lot bigger than me, and I find that I get really beat up bad in the swim. You do have to think a lot while you're out there. You don't just put your head down and go anymore like we used to.
I was really shocked in Japan when I did the first 2 races this year. I've seen it change a lot, metamorphosize into a much faster, much more competitive race over the last 2 years. It's survival of the fittest, I suppose, and it takes a bit of brain power, up-top power to think about how to best get through the race.
In Japan, the two races were more intense for longer. I mean, if you have a bad swim now, you pretty much write the race off, you know. It's definitely getting harder.
Back to the race action. We're about at the 400-metre mark, just gone halfway, and it's Dominic Donner, the South African, still leads. Sarah Harrow there for New Zealand is in third position, and this is one of the strong performers to watch for.
Well, Sarah's one of the stronger cyclists, so she'll be up there with the two South Africans who are also quite strong on the bike. And we haven't seen much of Emma yet. She must be getting worried about getting left behind because she wants to be up there in the top pack too.
As Emma Carney just told us, it's vital to be right up there in the swim. This is half the normal distance, so it really is a hustle and bustle, dynamic event that we'll be focusing on here today. But the leaders and the South Africans drawing clear and looking very confident in their debut to the ITU Tour this season.
This is a bit of a different swim in that they are going in a straight line or a gentle curve over towards the Eiffel Tower, but they don't have to negotiate around the boys, so they're able to use their full efficient swim stroke, although one thing they're concerned about is not swallowing too much of that water.
Not the cleanest of swims we're likely to see on the tour, but a very fast one indeed. They're heading for the Eiffel Tower, the Pont d'Aina, as Dominic Donner still holds the lead. She's been the early leader and looks to be taking this one all the way. The South African girls almost working as a team in this swim, and you can just start to see now how much their advantage is starting to develop into. On the far right of your screens, looking face on, is Sarah Harrow of New Zealand, but the group's starting to drop a fair way behind.
Looks like they have a good 20 or 30 meters on them, but I would guess that this swim is a little bit longer than the 750 meters. There is a current, and the organizers took that into account, and they may have made it a few meters longer, 50 or 100 meters longer than was advertised.
A swim distance may be a little longer than we first anticipated, but it's the transition area that will be the key part of this event. In the first two races of the season, the transition area often resembled little more than a battleground, with bikes and bodies flying everywhere. Here in Paris, over the shorter sprint distance, the changeover from swim to bike and bike to run will be crucial.
In the fast races, it's very good to get into the transition area first. I learnt that from doing these sort of sprint races in Australia, because then you get, you get to your bike first, and you haven't got to climb over everyone, you know, with all this bumping and jostling and stuff. It gets pretty hectic, and I know I ran into about 3 or 4 people, and you know, hopefully we're all friends at the end of the day, but I took out a fellow Canadian at the last race and felt pretty bad about it. If it's the end of the bike, it doesn't matter if you bash your bike around a bit, but you've got to be a little bit more careful if you're going onto the bike, because you don't want to wreck anything. But you know, if anyone gets in your way, you just push them.
Well, I've had a few problems this year in my transition, but you know, it comes down to seconds these days in these races. They're so close, especially, you know, when you might be in a pack, and to think clearly, to do things one thing at a time, and to get out is so important these days.
It's a South African 1 and 2 as Dominic Donner and Kim Carter have drawn clearly ahead of the rest of the field. They're now making their way out of the river into the all-important transition. A very impressive swim.
Not surprising, since both of these women would have probably gone to the Olympic Games if it hadn't been for the problems with South Africa.
Out of the water, they climb the steps to the Pont d'Aina, a beautiful bridge at the foot of the Eiffel Tower here. Dominic Donner records a time of 15 minutes 12 seconds for the 750-metre swim. Not as quick as we had first expected, but still the favourites and the top performers from the first 2 World Cups of this season are trailing some way behind her. Well, this is turning out to be quite a shock for the fans of Australian triathlon, as Kim Carter is in runner-up position and makes her way across the bridge into the transition area. Then come the pack. including Emma Carney, Jenny Rose and Carol Montgomery. The big favourites once again have their work cut out. They'll need a fast transition and will need to make up time on the bike once again, Catherine.
They certainly don't want to lose any seconds in this transition, and they had all those steps to climb, so their hearts are going to be pounding at way above their aerobic threshold. This is a really, really tough transition.
And here's a new name to the triathlon tour, certainly this season. Magal Mesmer of Switzerland has come out of the water in 4th position. Sarah Harrow out of the water in 3rd. A lot of the big race guns got a lot of work to do. There's Emma Carney. Remember, she's won the 2 events this season. She's got 42 seconds to make up, and that's within the Aussies' grasp.
There's Jenny Rose, another very strong cyclist. Emma Carney should be just behind her, so she'll be in good company if she can manage to work together with Jenny Rose.
Part 2 of this competition is up and away. It's a 20-kilometre cycle ride. 4 laps to take in around tarmac and some pretty tough cobbled turns in this Parisian course. It had been another long and difficult transition, with Carney and the other race favourites over 40 seconds behind the leaders going onto the bike. Over this shorter sprint distance, it meant that Carney would have less time to haul herself back into contention. At the front of the race, Sarah Harrow and Kim Carter were working together. Emma Carney and Jenny Rose were in a bigger group. We rejoined the race approaching the end of the first lap. Already we see the leaderboard change at the end of lap 1. New Zealand's Sarah Harrow, remember 8th in Ishigaki, is right up there with the second of the 2 South Africans who came out of the water, Kim Carter. Just behind them in the pack are the favourites, Emma Carney and Jenny Rose. So this is a good performance from Sarah Harrow in search of her first victory of the season. Chase pack now come flying around the corner. They'll be looking to make this up, but as we said earlier, Catherine, 20 seconds behind. It's a much shorter time difference to make up the gap.
Well, I'm sure that Emma Carney is quite confident that she'll be able to catch Sarah Harrow, especially if she's working with a large group, and also she has the run in her favour. Neither Sarah Harrow nor Kim Carter can outrun Emma Carney under any possibility.
And these 2 leaders will know that. They'll try and get as great an advantage and draw as far away from that chase pack as they possibly can. Digging in deep, beautiful scenery, the crowd cheering them all along, and of course there'll be extra support for Sophie Delamere there. 42 seconds off the pace, but looking very aggressive on the bike.
Sophie is one of the top female cyclists. She generally trains with a pack of male professional cyclists, and she's the one with all the tricks. She knows how to break away, she knows how to stop the pack from catching onto her wheel, and she is really one of the superb cyclists out there.
Well, there's news just coming through that there's been problems for one of the big favourites. Carol Montgomery has had to pay a penalty for her number not clearly showing. She's lost an awful lot of time, and this is a disaster for the Canadian.
It's a disaster for Carol, and it's also a disaster for the race in general, because I was really hoping to see a showdown between Carol and Emma Carney in the run.
The second chase pack is headed up by Sophie Delamere. But it's really a great shame for Carol Montgomery. A problem with officials holding her back due to no clear showing of her starting number, and not even the experience and determination of this fine athlete will put her back into the race now. It also perhaps throws it right on a plate for Emma Carney, who will not know that this has happened, but she will certainly be surprised not to see the great Canadian over her shoulder. So the lead pack now look to swallow up the early 2 leaders, and in that lead pack is Emma Carney of Australia. Jenny Rose is also in there from New Zealand. And there you can just see in the far top of your screens, Carol Montgomery has not only been pushed off the pace, but perhaps the focus, the psychological will to drive and push has gone. Kim Carter has just got the lead, but the faster riders now swallowing up the early leaders.
Well, I would think that with Jenny Rose and Emma Carney pushing the pace in that pack, Carol Montgomery's going to find it a really hard task to catch up to him all by herself.
We've heard from many of the athletes in interviews throughout this broadcast that you must stay with the lead group if you're to be within a chance in the final run here. And of course the final run is just 5, not 10 kilometres. Rounding the transition area once again, there's Jenny Rose now taking to the lead, wearing number 4. The New Zealander making her bid, but remember the drafting allows them to work as a pack together. Very few will try to draw clear, but these are the favourites and the strong cyclists up front.
I would guess that both Emma and Jenny will be trying to make a breakaway. There are places to do that. There are a lot of turnarounds, there's a 180-degree turn right on the bridge there, and that is the place where you could possibly lose some of the hangers on.
40 seconds down for Carol Montgomery. Even her great running experience will not put her in the chase. Now this is the second chase pack. Just a few meters away now from swallowing up Carol Montgomery, who really does seem to have lost all of her will and focus in this cycle section of the competition. Pack riding this may be, but as Carol Montgomery has just found out, you have to work on the bike to stay in contention. At the front, Carney and Rose are masters of this strategy.
You don't entirely forget about the cycling. I think the thing is, that you still need to be a strong cyclist, because if I'm very strong at cycling, when I get off the bike I'm able to run easier. So you can't really forget about your cycling, because if I decided that no, I didn't need to do so much cycle training, it would make it so much harder in the run, because I wouldn't be coming out with the same sort of fitness and good feeling into the run section of the race.
Back to the race action. 39 minutes they've been out there on the bikes. The lead group are on lap 3 with 7 kilometers to go before the last transition into the run section of this event. And already they've drawn considerably clear ahead of the second pack. Carol Montgomery now way down in the chase. But the big race favourites, Emma Carney and of course Jenny Rose, are all in this lead group. As they perhaps now, Catherine, jockey in this drafting that we've gotten used to, or will they look for that breakaway just before the run transition?
Well, you can see that there actually isn't too much jostling for position. It seems to be that Emma and Jenny Rose are leading the pack, so they're doing most of the work there. I think the others are really struggling to hang on.
Well, they are the big favourites, and they are perhaps the two most known figures from the International Triathlon Union World Cup Tour, and perhaps some of the lesser experienced and younger athletes watching Emma Carney, learning, but also happy just to stay with these two great champions. There's no question they're bunched up nice and tight. You can see them being bounced around a little on the saddle as these cobbles not only make the ride even tougher, but also need that extra little care not to slip on these tight bends coming in and out of the transition area.
You can see that Emma's been up there right at the front of the pack most of the way, and Emma's often been accused of not being a very tactical rider. She doesn't take her turn at the back. She likes to lead right off the front the whole time. But the remarkable thing about her is that she can do that. She can get off the bike and run as fast as anybody, and probably faster than anybody.
Another tight turn and another lap to do. 5 kilometers before the cycle section of this competition is over. They are very tightly bunched indeed, and it looks to be Sarah Harrow, who was third out of the water, still in contention at the start of lap 4, heading the pack. But of course, with the drafting rules and regulations, they're all within a chance of claiming top positions going into the run section. Heading down the streets now, the athletes will see on the left-hand side the Palais de Tokyo. Heading towards the Pont d'Alma, they turn on the Pont, or the Bridge Alexandra III, and then power down a very fast tarmac section before coming into the last straight for the transition for the run. And perhaps, Catherine, on that last back straight coming towards the Eiffel Tower for the final time, they will again start to plan ahead, look forward, and think of a quick transition going into the run.
In this type of sprint distance racing, as we've already said, the transitions are so much more important. And so they will be thinking ahead to try and get off the bike in first position, get their shoes on and get out of the transition in first spot, because it is such a psychological advantage.
Drawing ahead from the second chase pack is Sophie Delamere of France. A very aggressive cycle ride. She really does throw the bike into the bends. And here's Magal Mesmer of Switzerland making her debut in the ITU World Cup Tour, looking very comfortable, nice and calm, looking around, checking out who's around her. But here's one very disappointed athlete, Carol Montgomery, losing all of her will to win and desire, even taking time for a quick liquid intake. But this must be a very disheartening time for Carol.
Well, when Carol's having her race, it's very difficult to beat her, but she is so very fragile. If something like this happens, she does lose her will, as you said.
It's over for Montgomery, but there is the big race favourite. Carrying number 1 on the arm, on the cycle, and on the track gear is Emma Carney. She's working well. This is where perhaps her game plan has improved so much after last season. She knows to sit in there. She has the strength in the run, and she really is looking very comfortable, perhaps even enjoying the scenery here in Paris. Brimming with confidence, Emma Carney. She's won twice this season, remember. The opener was an easy victory. Gamagori, she was 4th after the bike and only 2nd in the run, but the times added together gave her the 2nd victory of the season, and Emma Carney looking as relaxed as ever.
think the short races are a little bit more exciting. It's more intense. I normally go for my own race. I can't really be bothered getting involved in organising other people when I'm trying to race. I just sort of make sure that I get out there, and I think it's whether you want to cross the line first or not. You know, I start every race and I want to be first across the line, so I try and do whatever possible to make sure I'm first there.
It's that strength of mind that will put Emma Carney in, well, the favourites position coming into the cycle race. She's battled well, she's in the group. Number 16 has just got the edge on the other athletes. That's Kim Carter. She was second out of the water for South Africa, but they're all very close indeed, including Sarah Harrow is still bunched up. Jenny Rose is with them, Emma Carney. And there is Jenny Rose, 31 minutes, 25 seconds after that 20-kilometre cycle ride. She's looking for her first victory of the season, 10th and 7th in rounds 1 and 2. Then come in the rest of the pack. Far left, Emma Carney. She'll look to get to her bike section and her number before she'll probably pass Jenny Rose, as she has number 1 as the World Cup Tour leader. Slots in the bike, helmet off, running shoes on, and it's going to be a battle between Australia and New Zealand once again. Jenny Rose is first away, a very fast transition, but right behind her is Emma Carney.
I'd be laying my money on Emma Carney for the 5K run, but don't count out Jenny Rose. She lives in Paris. She's racing in front of her adopted home crowd, and Emma did just fly in from Australia, so you really don't know what might happen.
Sophie Delamere will keep the French hopes alive also. She's 50 seconds behind, but already Emma Carney has taken top position. She's steamed ahead of Jenny Rose, and the 25-year-old from Elton settles into that flowing, almost effortless run style. There's perhaps only one runner that's better and faster than Emma Carney, and that's Carol Montgomery, but she's 1 minute 30 seconds behind the leaders. She'll perhaps break into the top 5, but will not be able to catch Carney after all kinds of number and official problems earlier on in the race.
1 minute 30 is too far for Carol to catch up to Emma. That's such a shame, because it would have been such an exciting race to see the two of them battle elbow for elbow down that finishing straight. But she will pick off a few of the front runners, and she has a chance for the top 3.
Second position is Jenny Rose. You cast your memories back. She was a winner here in 1994, but it doesn't look to be a repeat in 1996. She knows with Emma Carney, one of the best runners in the business, drawing clear, enjoying the heat as the crowd are enjoying this effortless performance. She's a battler, Jenny Rose. She's digging in, but Emma Carney, Catherine, has this smoother, more efficient style.
Well, also remember that they're running 5K, so they're going a lot faster. Emma, I think, would be headed for a 33 or 34-minute 10K pace there, which is faster than she'd do in the longer distance triathlon. But you can see that they are really working a lot harder.
If you're looking for more information on the International Triathlon Union, we have this new service. We'll be repeating this address at the end of the programme. Emma Carney is well on her way to her third successive victory of the season. There was 5 in the 1995 World Cup, but with 3 back-to-back victories, one starts to question so early on in the season whether Emma Carney can be stopped. Not only very focused, so comfortable, and also starting to get that very special self-confidence, Catherine, that she feels she's untouchable.
It does take a few races to get that feeling of being race fit, but it seems that Emma's got that right from the start. But I would suspect that it's because she's also so much better than most of the other women out there. She just is one of the top female athletes in the world right now.
She has this fantastic mental approach to triathlon racing. She often tells us she's not fussed with all this visualization and fancy preparation. It's about running hard, cycling hard and swimming hard. A tough performer, and she really is looking strong. This is a very impressive performance from Miguel Messmer of Switzerland. She's lying in 3rd place with just 1 lap to go and looking very strong indeed. But it's Jenny Rose who's looking for her best performance of the season, lying in runner-up position, with the Swiss athlete a fair way to go if she's to catch the Kiwi.
I think that Emma can probably sit back and enjoy the scenery that you were mentioning before now, Nick. I did the World Cup race here back in 1991, and it is such a special feeling. It's a real buzz to be racing among all these monuments.
Chasing top 10 positions, number 9, Sharon Donnelly of Canada, and also one of the top Dutch triathletes, Sylvia Pepels. But just behind them, eating up the ground, is Carol Montgomery. But one feels that she will not be able to catch Emma Carney, who is drawing further and further ahead of Jenny Rose, with Miguel Messner of Switzerland chasing hard. Emma Carney has completely rewritten the form book.
On a day, she's just unbeatable, you know. it's very hard to know how to beat this girl. We've just got a champion who is very, very smart on her feet, as is Carol Montgomery at times, and an exception, you know, to triathlon, and she's very difficult to beat.
Emma Carney heading for home. Victory number 3 has gone the Australians' way once again. A world champion in '94. She's made it quite clear she wants that world title back in 1996. But she's proved here today in Paris she can win in the sprint distance with the high-speed younger athletes as well as the traditional or the Olympic distance of the ITU. 1 hour, 6 minutes, 24 seconds, 3 out of 3 for Emma Carney.
Another fantastic performance from Emma Carney, but this woman, Jenny Rose, will be very pleased with her second place. She was last year's long-distance world champion, so this is a really remarkable performance in such a short race.
A winner here in 1994, but that's Jenny Rose's best performance on the ITU Tour so far. And what a great run for the newcomer to the ITU World Cup, Megal Mesmer of Switzerland, claiming 3rd position. And behind her, Carol Montgomery had the 2nd fastest run of the day to move up into 4th place. So the top 5 looked like this. Carney, 3 wins out of 3 on this year's World Cup. Rose 2nd, her best World Cup performance for over a year. Mesmer 3rd, Montgomery unlucky to finish 4th, and Sarah Harrow back in 5th place.